Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Dan Cardelicchio. I want to welcome you to another segment version of Destination Health Podcast, where we're finding dysfunction in a dysfunctional world. I have a very special guest on today, and we're going to hit on some very important topics. I'm really excited about this. We're going to talk a little bit about the Olympics. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on at the Olympics. And this is going to be an interesting conversation. I'm here with my friend. I am here with my colleague, Dr. Irene Cop. She is a medical physician. She's a chiropractic physician. She's the leader CEO of Stress for Success S.H.I.F.T Institute. Dr. Irene, how are you today?
I am awesome. Thank you so much for having me here, Dr. Dan.
Oh boy, I'm really looking forward to this conversation, by the way, because we're going to be discussing a little bit about burnout. We're going to talk a little about imposter syndrome. We're going to talk a little bit about, what I call what you would call the twisties, right? I call it performance anxiety, what's going on at the Olympics. So tell me, let's start off the conversation. Give me some thoughts about the Olympics. Give me some thoughts about what's going on. I think it's important.
Absolutely, Dr. Dan, and I'm very interested in hearing your views as well. And I know
could be dangerous, but we're going to go with it.
It's going to be an interesting conversation. I already know that.
I think this may be a multi-part series right now. I think we may be coming back Monday and another time next week because I have a ton of thoughts about this, and I'm sure you do also. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be good. So anyway, I'm sorry for interrupting. I'm sorry.
I see you've been practicing your Canadianism.
I've been practicing my Canadian. All right.
I'm not allowed to say that, how I've been practicing my New Jersey isms because this is live on the show. So
before you get off, you could say forget about it. I mean, just once.
Okay, I could say forget about it.
During the course of our conversation, you can go, forget about it. All right.
Okay. So when you say something that's total crap, I'll just say, forget about it.
Forget it. I never say anything that's total nonsense, Dr. Irene, just to let you know that. Be that as it may, let's talk Olympics.
Let's do that.
Let's go for the gusto. What's on your mind?
So I was having a discussion with one of my good friends, Sam Horn, the other day. And
I love Sam, by the way. She's great.
Sam is amazing. She's one of my mentors, and I absolutely love her. And the conversation, given what's going on in the world, turned to the Olympics. Mm-hmm. And of course, the massive controversy that is swirling around Simone Biles' decision to pull out of several of her key events that she was to compete in because she got a case of what she calls the twisties, which is where she's like up in midair doing one of her phenomenal moves that nobody else can do, and she suddenly became totally disoriented in space, had no idea which way was up, which way was down. Like her perception of space and balance just went out the window. And it's, as she described, and I can corroborate, it's so disorienting that it could literally, like, she could fall and land on her neck, break her neck, and die. Mm-hmm. Right. So massive fear to go with that. Mm-hmm. So her coach, the medical team of the Olympics decided to pull her out. And the controversy is because there were some pretty big name people, like big politicians and podcasters and celebrities, who were like totally criticizing and dissing her, saying, oh, you're just being lazy just because it's not fun for you. Or, you haven't got what it takes. Other Olympians have competed and won gold on broken ankles. And so it was, to me, a very interesting topic that I number one, believe we need to normalize mental health rather than the stigma and shame that has surrounded it for far too long. And aside from that, it's looking deeper at why. Now, Simone Biles is not my client. And at the same time, I've had other Olympic gymnasts and major athletes and celebrities and top politicians, like you name it, as my clients who have gone through what she is going through. And so I've gone through it myself. So I totally understand. And whether it's the twisties or whether it's a panic attack before going on to a big presentation, or freezing before an exam, or it can show up in so many different ways. And it's not just, ooh, you got anxiety, ooh, you're afraid, or you haven't got what it takes. There can be some far greater, deeper, and more dangerous issues at the core of it that I work with my clients through, and I had to work through myself, which was, of course, our mess is our message, which is why I am so passionate about it. So yes, that's what I would love to start the conversation with, Dr. Dan.
Okay, this is an interesting topic to me. So we got people watching us. If you have any questions for Dr. Irene or myself, please put them into the into the comments section. Dr. Irene is her specialty is elite performance psychology. So this is right up her alley. I mean, my first thoughts are, and I don't diss athletes. I've been there. You could be on a stage where you're going for a state championship. Admittedly, the Olympics is the biggest of the biggest stages, right? And you could be playing college ball. You could be on a big stage playing against Alabama, #1 in the country back then. And it's frightening at times. I would love to see her compete. I would love to see her overcome this if she can. I would love to see her compete for her country, for herself, for her family. I would love to see her stand on that podium and get a medal. I don't care if she competes and she don't want her to hurt herself, of course, but I don't care if she competes and she gets a 0 across the lines. I don't care. To me, and at the age of almost 60, and you know me, Dr. Irene, I'm all about the mentoring. I mean, if that inspires somebody, I'm all for it. That's my thought process. But I'd love to see her compete. I'd love to see her overcome this. I'd love to have her show that she can overcome. And no matter where you are in your life, you can overcome. That's where I come from. So it's not a criticism. It's not something along those lines. I like to talk to her, by the way. I had my son come to me today. We got a hockey tournament. We're leaving right after this podcast, and he's nervous. Hasn't been on the ice playing, but he said, man, I'm excited. I want to get out there. So I have my way. Now, back in my day, Dr. Irene, you didn't perform so well. You had to deal with your dad. Now, my dad was 280 pounds. It was a different time, So, when I spoke to another psychiatrist about this, is that mental toughness? I know I'm talking a lot, but you can take this and go anywhere you want with it. Is that mental toughness? We were taught that mental toughness. And I'm not saying that she doesn't have mental toughness, because there's that process that you have to go through. When you know me, I'm very comfortable being uncomfortable, right? I love the crowd. I've debated, spoken, conferences in front of infinite, tons of people. That doesn't bother me. Now, she's 24 years old. I just looked it up. She's 24. I'm also 60. So I got a lot more experience in
A
life.
lot more experience.
And I like to see her get this so that she can also learn from this experience, because there's so many good things that can come out of this situation. And there's you can really inspire. I'm all about inspiring, right? You know me. I'm all about that mentoring. And for me, I'm like, let's go. What can we do? What can we do to get you out there? Again, I want to talk to her. So if there's anybody out there that knows her, contact me, direct message me. I'll give her my cell phone number. I'll talk to her. I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I'm just a guy that has a lot of experience on a stage type of a situation, whether it's politics, whether it's professional, whether it's a podcast, no matter what it is, sports. I want to talk to her.
I want to talk with her as well.
All right, so
I would love to help her and everyone else with this as well. Keep talking. I'm making just a couple notes while I talk to you.
So again, I don't have any criticism, because you're going to have critics in life, and you may in fact be criticized by people that you never thought you were going to be criticized by, right? You just don't know that. We had just today, somebody came out in support of somebody in the political arena, and we're not going to talk politics, but I'm just saying as an example, they came out, and you would never think that this individual here would support this individual. There's no way that you would think that. I'm not going to mention anything, right? Now, I've been on many different stages in my life, and, I want to see her compete. I don't care if she loses, she gets zeros across the board. That's meaningless to me. I would love to see her compete. I would love to see her get tens, and I'd love to see her up there and have her family, her country, herself, and all of that, the world being proud of her. If that's what she wants to do. That's the way that I look at this. There's no other way. There's no more simpler way that I can put this. I love to see her compete. The only thing I can say that may be a little controversial, and I'm not controversial at all, am I?
No, not in the slightest.
I think in part, if she can overcome this, she has a bit of a responsibility to herself and to those young girls, young guys, older, middle-aged, to teach a lesson, to help those along. I don't think that's controversial. I think that's being real. So if anybody's listening on her end, give me a call, give Dr. Irene a call. I'd love to see her compete. Zeros to tens, it doesn't matter at this point to me what she would get. Dr. Irene, what are your thoughts?
So on the one hand, I completely agree with you that.
All right, hold on. Somebody has agreed with me. Let's write that down. 12:32 Eastern Standard Time, August 6, 2021.
I agree that under ideal circumstances, it is a wonderful growth experience and resiliency training, as you've
That's exactly
mentioned.
Where I'm coming from.
And as one of the doctors who taught me said, the intestinal fortitude. No, it's the guts to get out there no matter what, and just to say you've done it. And there may very well be extenuating circumstances. Number one, we never know the full story. I mean, I went and researched and looked up, what Simone has said on Instagram and on Twitter and what others have said. And
we're never going to know the full story. Yeah,
right. We're never going to know the full story, not until Simone calls me and calls us and decides to chat. And in which case, I'd love to be there for her. And at the same time, looking back through the backstory, is it really for us to judge whether she made the right decision or not? To me, it showed a hell of a lot of maturity to not only step out of the ring when she's been training for years. Olympics is once every 4 years. There's like that added level of stress right there, that it had to have been huge for her to make that decision. And she didn't just step out and slink away and hide away. No, it must have, inside, a little bit of her must have died to go stand in the stands and cheer on her teammates. So to me, it shows a phenomenal amount of resilience and maturity, far beyond somebody who's 24 normally shows. So I actually say kudos for showing up for others and not just thinking about yourself. And at a time where I recognize that, without knowing the whole story, it really must have been an incredibly hard decision to make for her to give up that dream, especially since she said that she was doing it. She's already proven herself. Frankly, Dr. Dan, she's already proven that she has the guts, the intestinal fortitude, the mental toughness, by being like one of the most, if not the most decorated female gymnast of all time, through multiple, like whether it's at the Worlds, the Olympics. She's already proven herself. She has nothing.
I agree. I agree. Now I'm going to give you a different.
You interrupted me, by the way. Just saying.
I'm sorry. So
there you go. We had to get that one in, folks.
So
go ahead.
I agree with you. I don't disagree with you. However, she did train. Again, I just want her to compete. Not for I think it's selfish now for me too. I just want to see her compete. I want her to get over this. I want to motivate, to educate, to inspire. That's what this podcast is about. And she's trained, and she's put her life in, heart and soul, her life into this. I'd like to see her get out there because of that. Yes, you have. In the Northeast here, if you were a Yankee fan, George Steinbrenner, what have you done for me lately is a situation. You could be Derek Jeter and, you win a World Series, and then next year you're not playing as well. That was the boss. I mean, he was tough, I guess. I don't know. But again, it's more along the lines is that I just want to see her get out there and compete to get over this, to overcome, and I've spoken to another psychologist / psychiatrist in our group. And, I mentioned this, resiliency, mental toughness. And this individual was like, well, we're going to discuss that on a different podcast, because I'm going to give you a different viewpoint, which I'm always looking to expand myself on different viewpoints. But I'd still like to see her get out there. I would like
we need to get your other psychologist on here as well.
I think so. I think I'm going to reach out.
I think we need to do like a panel on this.
I think
Dr. Dan, you can,
I can arrange.
Make it happen, of course. So that may be lost in the translation, is that she actually did get back out there and compete for her last
a couple
event.
Of days ago, right? She went out and she did.
Correct. So she didn't just pack up and leave, right, or pack up and leave the floor. She as soon as she was cleared, she actually did go back and got her second bronze of the Olympics. So to me, she accomplished what you wanted to see for her and for yourself. And Dr. Dan, forget about it. Get over yourself. She doesn't need to do anything for you.
That was pretty good. That wasn't so bad.
Did I, how was the forget about it? Did I slide it in there? Like,
You
enough?
slid it in nicely.
Okay.
However, we got to work on the tone, a little bit on the delivery, but that's okay.
All right.
You're
I'm still
good.
too nice about it, am I?
Yeah, you're still too nice.
It's still too nice about it. So one of the things that I work with my clients on is the simple analogy of a pot of water. If you have a pot of water sitting on the stove and the burner's not on, and then you turn the burner on, you have quite a temperature range to go before it starts boiling. However, if you turn the burner on just a little bit, it could even be on low, it will eventually start simmering, right? So when it gets to that point, it's simmering, and it's still, unless you touch it, you may not even notice it. It'll look the very same. However, then when you turn it up on high, it takes so very little for it to boil over. And that is what life stresses, traumas, adversity can do if they are not managed. Now, again, I can only go by what I've read in Simone's bio, and I can speak for my clients. Clients have been in very similar situations, including myself. So whether you look at her childhood of being in and out of foster homes, from a baby on up to whatever the age of 3 before her grandfather found out and was able to adopt them, right? The sexual abuse that a trusted mentor, perpetrated on her and other top female athletes. Add in the stress and strain of COVID. I mean, Dr. Dan, that the medical community is saying that because of this global crisis, the fear, the trauma, the PTSD, literally, like the right. Medical community is calling COVID that people, whether they get COVID or not, now have PTSD from it. And they're now saying the next pandemic is actually going to be mental health. Well, I got news for them. It was already here before.
It was there just beforehand, right?
It was like the skeleton in the closet that nobody wants to talk about. Right? Because of the shame, the stigma, and frankly, the fear surrounding it.
I was just watching, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was just watching her routine and listening to you because I can multitask. I think she got the gold. That's what I'm going to say. That's my controversial statement. Without even looking at anybody else, she got the gold.
Well, if you took into account the mental resilience, I believe she should have won the gold. And not dissing anybody else. If you look at what everybody, all the heart and soul that has to be poured in, yes, as far as I'm concerned, she did. So back to before you so rudely interrupted me, albeit for a fun statement, right? COVID has added that whole layer of fear, stress, and strain that, back to the pot of water analogy, you have the temperature raising a little bit, if not a lot, with the foster homes. Then you've got the sexual abuse. Then you've got COVID. Then you've got, and it was all coming to a head. Remember, it's like, should we hold the Tokyo Olympics at all? And the American Olympic gymnasts decided not to walk in the opening ceremonies because of putting themselves at risk. In other words, it's a very present fear that everybody is experiencing. Then her aunt, who, according to the research I did, is actually more like a second mother to her, died. Again, I don't know the circumstances surrounding it. But all of that happening at the same time was just that much more, so that the pot of water boiled over. In other words, she could have all the mental toughness in the world. And as a friend of mine who was a former Navy SEAL who went through what was called SEER training, said to me, "It's like, you can believe that you are the biggest, the baddest, the best, the most toughest dude that there is, and you can be broken." Right? In other words, we all have our breaking points, and she hit hers. And if she had gone out there, it could very well have had, like, it could have been a life or death situation. Because here's the thing, part of that programming, and she even said, she tweeted that, "Thank you for the support. I never realized before that outside of my sport and winning medals, that I was actually worthwhile." Like, right. And so again, when you're in that moment and you have that programming that you have to give and give and give and give and give until you're bled dry, that you have to be perfect or not show up at all, whether she would be able to back off as much as she needed to stay safe, or whether she would have just gone for the gusto and possibly broken her neck or some other part and actually harmed her chances of competing further later on. On the face of it, I believe she made the most mature and best decision for herself. And frankly, I believe that anybody who criticizes, who haven't been in her shoes, that good old walk a mile in someone else's shoes, right, they should be ashamed of criticizing, because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. That is my opinion on this. And that is, again, just knowing from the surface of it and having done my research, and from helping all of the other clients that I've helped. And as I said, I've gone through it myself. In fact, that's when I first learned that this was a thing, and my own eyes were opened, that, wounded healer thing, right? Your message, your message. It's like, I never realized how powerful it could be until it happened to me. And it's a massive, and I described it as this crushing weight. Others call it imposter syndrome. I call it imposter syndrome too, but the issue I have with imposter syndrome is that people tend to talk about imposter syndrome as a little mindset issue. Oh, you're afraid, just push through the fear. This true imposter syndrome is far, far deeper, and it goes back to that, like, the lowest of the low self-esteem, lack of self-value, lack of self-love. In my case, abusive childhood and multiple other things that led to it. And it was that you have to be perfect or don't show up at all, because guess what? People get hurt if you don't show up as perfect. Whether it's you or somebody else, somebody might get hurt.
Oh, you get burnt out from that.
Well, I'm talking about as a child, right? That was the programming. And that becomes what I described as, because I still push through, as you know. I got degree upon degree upon degree. Number one, because I never felt I was good enough without it. Right? That's why I pushed and got, chiropractic degree on top of my bachelor's, and then got my medical degree, as well as, multiple coaching certifications and so on and so on and so on and so on. And at the base of it, I never, even though I kept pushing through with education and pushing through to gain more success and to help more people, every single level that I got higher and higher and higher, it just felt like this weight just was crushing. And I describe it as, in Harry Potter, I'm a geek when it comes to this. In Harry Potter, like the Dementor is just sucking the life out of you. Or if you want to describe it as a black hole, just sucking the life energy out of you. And yes, it led to my catastrophic burnout, what I call flame out syndrome, where my family and I almost died in a car accident because of that catastrophic burnout. Right. So and again, when all of that happened and when I was feeling that crushing weight, I didn't understand what was causing it until somebody turned the light bulb on for me. And I went, oh, okay.
Yes.
And then I realized I needed to work through it. And then I realized, oh, wow, guess what? It's not just me. It's all these other people, whether they're Olympic gymnasts or celebrities or, other high achieving elite performers or regular people. So many people are suffering from this deepest form of imposter syndrome without even knowing it. And it's having deathly effects, like whether it's chronic conditions, right? Leading to diabetes, heart disease, autoimmune disease, cancer, or in my case, a catastrophic car accident, or it could be a mistake on a gymnasium floor causing injury. In other words, it has that very physical, real impact. And that is how powerful it can be, and why I'm so passionate about helping others through it. And first and foremost, awareness is 80% of the battle and the solution. It's showing others that this is even a thing, and that it's not just, oh, you're just afraid, just push through it, which is what you were talking about in the beginning. I say that with all the love in my heart, Dr. Dan.
Oh, thank you very much, Dr. Irene. That's so kind of you to say that. So what are some steps that when you're dealing with a client that has this burnout, and is it different for different ages, or is it kind of the same? What are some of the steps that can be taken to start on the process? How do you become aware of the situation? Is it somebody telling you? Is it you doing this on your own, or a combination of both? Or, my father, who's 280 pounds, getting in your face and saying, what's the matter with you?
Well, great question, Dr. Dan. And as I just mentioned, awareness is 80% of the battle and the solution. And for me, it was hearing the story of a very well-known celebrity who went through this, and a friend of mine was coaching him. And it was hearing that story that was the massive aha for me. Actually, it was more like a, oh.
Do that again. What was that?
I don't know if I can repeat that again. Forget about it.
There you go.
There we go.
That was good.
There we go. And so when I work with clients, and somebody can do this on their own, I recommend, whether you do journaling, whether you go take a walk in nature, active meditation, like forest bathing or on the beach. I know you love being on the beach, Dr. Dan.
I do.
Right. Some people, they say get their best ideas in the shower. The point is allowing yourself to be in a good place, right? I guess because taking a shower is relaxing, Dr. Dan.
It is.
Just like walking in nature or on the beach or meditating. And if you don't know how to meditate, it could be like putting on some of your favorite feel-good music, right? In other words, getting yourself into a good place first and foremost, right? Not being like in that place of, right? Getting yourself into a good place, and then just asking with curiosity and not judgment, what could possibly be behind how I'm feeling? Because my clients don't come to me going, oh, I've got imposter syndrome. They come to me with severe intractable pain that no one else has been able to help.
Right.
They come to me with neurodegenerative conditions that they've been told by conventional medicine that, oh, you're just going to have to live with this. Same thing with autoimmune, right? You see a lot of the same clients, Dr. Dan. I know that your specialty is nutrition and functional medicine. And to me, functional medicine simply means getting to the root cause. And that's what I do, coming at it from a different direction. And so it's asking the question, what could be behind how I'm feeling? Why am I feeling anxious? Why is there this, what are those panic attacks about? And that's one of the, actually, I'm going to back up and say one of the first things I do with clients is I teach them to remove themselves from the situation and watch it like they're watching a reality TV show, right? So that they're not reliving it. And I even teach them to say, and this is a great tip for anybody, instead of saying, I'm feeling anxious, I'm depressed, I'm having, it's like, I tell them, coach them, first of all, to take it out of I am, because when you say I am, and words have power, that's your identity. I am that. You're not depressed because that's not your whole essence. That's not your whole life. There is a feeling of depression. The French have a beautiful way where they don't say I'm cold or I'm hungry. They say j'ai froid or j'ai faim, right? I have hunger. I have cold, right? Like literally, like that's how, and that's a better way. In other words, it's saying I have a feeling of. The better way even is, oh, there's that fear again. I wonder what that's about. There's that butterflies in my stomach thing. What's that about? Right? Just asking with curiosity when you're in a good place, and just be open to whatever comes up. And this is one of the first ways that somebody, whether they work with a coach or not, can start to gain clarity over what may actually be behind. Because guess what? All the strategies in the world are not going to help. Dr. Dan, you know this, right? Until you get to that root cause. That's right. It's like you've got a massive thorn bush, and if you keep just trying to pull it and break it off at the grass level, it's going to keep coming back, right? It's like, no, you have to drill down and get the whole thing out. And that can be, it doesn't have to be painful. That's the most important thing. And it doesn't have to take a long time.
Right.
One of the things I'm passionate about teaching people is how giving them tools, teaching them how to help themselves so that they don't have to spend years in psychotherapy, not dissing psychotherapy, or spend, or reliving and rehashing the pain of a trauma. Right? There are fast, easy, simple ways to do it. And that's why I have specifically learned those ways so that I could help. One of the backstories I'll share is that my abusive childhood was because of my father's PTSD from serving in the army in what was supposed to be a peacetime effort in the Congo. And instead of being peacekeeping, and they weren't even allowed bullets in their guns, that's how peacekeeping it was supposed to be, right? They were embroiled in the middle of a civil war and not only witnessed atrocities, had friends cannibalized, tortured to the point of insanity. Like, this is what my father went through. And so when he came back, PTSD wasn't even recognized at the time. It was like, suck it up, take it like a man. And by the way, this is confidential and you're not allowed to talk to anybody about it. Mm-hmm. So he did what anybody would do, and he self-medicated with alcohol to try and forget and to get rid of the nightmares. And, the rest is history. So I'm extremely passionate about helping others who have gone through the traumas, because I understand how horrific they can be and how it's just I talk to soldiers and other veterans and others who've gone through trauma, and they'll be like, I can't talk to a shrink about this. I can't talk to a stranger, because if I do, I've just finally gotten a little bit of measure of peace, and I can't take that chance of the nightmares coming back, of the horrors, and reliving it and rehashing it. So that is why I'm so passionate about teaching tools and techniques that don't require that.
Awesome. That is a fabulous answer. Thank you very much for that. Give us a little bit about what you would say to Simone. How would you approach her? If I were sitting here and if I were her, what would you say?
I would say, I'm so proud of you. You've done the best you could. Thank you for having the courage to stand up for yourself, for all others. Dr. Dan, you want to talk about being an example and an inspiration to others, perhaps younger athletes or just anybody. To me, that's exactly what she has done. Whether we agree with how she did it or not, she stood up and was prepared to take the very real, as it turned out, chance of being vilified, condemned, criticized for her decisions and actions.
Right.
And
when you're on the world stage, that's part of the game, right?
It is. And there's that mental toughness I believe that she has. So I would be like, Simone, you've already done amazing. And anytime that you want to work through the rest, I'm here for you. So that
she's gone through a lot.
Once and for all.
Yeah, she's gone through a lot in her life.
Yes.
She's gone through a lot. So good for her for getting back out there.
Yes.
I haven't watched much of the Olympics this time around because I'm just, as you know, I'm busy with offices all over the place. And I really haven't had a chance to.
What's with that?
Yeah, what's with that? What's with helping people?
Yeah.
What's with having all offices in New Jersey,
New York, Connecticut, Timbuktu? Yeah.
Not yet. We're thinking about Timbuktu. I think Tennessee, Florida.
Tennessee?
I don't know. I don't know. There's just seems to be offices that just pop up.
There you go.
It's like they just spontaneous combustion, and my name's associated somehow.
That's because you're a popular guy because you're so damn good.
Oh, there you go. Let's write that down. 1:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, August 6, 2021. And there you go. I've had 2 compliments thus far on my podcast. I'm supposed to compliment you, which I'll do later on. So So that's a good approach. How would you get to the root cause? What would you do to get to the root cause?
Great question, Dr. Dan. And I believe that's going to need to be a topic for our next episode.
I think that's a topic for the next episode.
Because it's more than just like a 1-minute answer.
Okay, because we're coming to an end here right now.
We are, unfortunately. And it's been so much. It's always a pleasure to explore different perspectives, opinions, to learn and to grow. And
absolutely.
And this has been a wonderful, wonderful experience, Dr. Dan. And I hope I'm sure your listeners have.
They will.
Gotten a lot out of it.
That's right. Right now, all the Italian Americans in New Jersey are going, forget about it. You're right.
And all the Canadians are going, we're sorry.
All the Canadians are going, sorry. All my cousins in New Jersey and New York, Pennsylvania, and the Philly area, and Connecticut, they're going, forget about it. This Dr. Irene, forget about it. She's all right.
Yeah, no. I think they're going to say, you know what? I think we have to change our opinion now.
That's right. So, Dr. Irene, I love our conversations. They're always enlightening. And I always learn when I talk to you on and off the camera. And it's just a pleasure having you as a friend and having you as a colleague. So I want to say thank you very much from the bottom of my heart for being here today. I'm going to try to get some individuals on in the next week or so. Perhaps we'll have a panel type of a discussion. Me being a chiropractor, clinical nutritionist with all of the feelings flying around, you never know what's going to happen at that point, right? Jeez, you never know. What movie did that come from? That came from a movie.
Which?
The flying feelings, where Matt Damon says to, Vera, I can't remember the name. Oh, no, I'm not on your couch. These feelings are flying around. So it'll be interesting to see how I handle all of the feelings flying around in addition to. Dr. Irene, how can people contact you?
They can reach me at drirenecop.com.
drirenecop.com.
DRIRENECOP not at gmail.com, at .com. I don't even know my own website.
So if you're having a tough time, if you're going through some struggles, if you're feeling a certain way, give Dr. Irene a call. Let's see if she can help you, because I know she can. For me, you know where I am. Just go to Dan Carlicchio, DCMS. You'll find me all over the place. Just go to your state, put in my name. I may have an office there. I don't know. Could be there's an office somewhere in your state that I'm affiliated or I own. I don't know. So it's all good. So seriously, I want to thank everybody for listening. Dr. Irene, this has been a fabulous, interesting conversation. Thank you very much. As I said, I always learn from you, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate when you come on. Let's see if we can make something happen. I got people in different time zones all over the world I'm thinking of. So let's see if we can rock and roll with this. I want to thank everybody for listening. Motivate, educate, and inspire. Contact Dr. Irene. Thank you for listening. Be the best versions of yourself, and we will talk soon. Take care.
Thank you.